Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Right now we are solving CSET 2023 paper. We have already done two videos on it, part 1 and part 2. I would highly recommend you watch them first because we are starting with question number 50 today. So let's start with question number 50. So this is a question. If you see here, it says there are three traffic lights, three signals. Each signal changes from red to green and then from green to red and then red to green. So what is happening here? So the traffic light goes from green to red and then red to green in how many seconds we will read in the next line. The first signal take 25 seconds from going 25 seconds, second signal take 39 seconds and third signal take 60 seconds from going from green to red. So first signal takes 39, second signal takes 25 and third signal takes 60 seconds, right? From going from green to red. And the duration from green for green and red colors are the same. Means how much ever time they're taking from going from green to red, they're using the same amount of time for going from red to green. So going from green to red and red to green. So total time taken will then will be twice of the time there, right? So this will be 78, this will be 50, and the final one will be 120, right? Now at 2 p.m. they turned green together. Means at 2 p.m. they all were green together. At what time will they change to green next, right? So first time, suppose uh, I will uh, I will use this, right? So the three times were 50, 50, 78, and 120, right? So from going from first green to red and red to green, first from 0 to 50 seconds, first one take, then 50 to 100 second, then 100 to 150 second. So after every 50 seconds, first signal is changing. For the second one, it goes from 0 to 78, 78 to I guess 156, and so on, right? And the third signal goes from 0 to 120, means going from green to green back again, 120 to 240, 240 to 360, and so on. So this is how they are changing. But they are asking after how much time will they be green together again. So if you see, 50 is here, but 50 is not in all of them. 78, second one turn greens, but not a first signal and third signal. So whenever all of them will be same together, will be the LCM of 3. This is what we have learned. LCM means when they are going to have the same common multiple. Lowest time, whenever they are going to have the same common multiple, that is known as LCM. So we have to find the LCM of 50, 78, and 120, and that is when they are going to have the green again. So if you calculate the LCM of all three, we have already seen how to calculate the LCM. So if you calculate the all three, you are going to get as total as 7800 seconds. This is the answer. So let's go back and see. It says after 7800 seconds, it's going to be back again green, all of them are green again together. But how many 7800 seconds in hour? So 1 hour has 3600 seconds, second hour has 3600 seconds, that makes it 7200 seconds. So we'll be left with 600 seconds. Then 600 seconds mean 10 minutes. So after 2 hours and 10 minutes, they will all be green together again. So from 2 p.m., 2 hours and 10 minutes, so you will be having the answer as 4:10 p.m. I hope it is clear. Why did we take LCM? LCM is the lowest time period. Means in this case, LCM is the lowest time when all of them is going to have the same multiple. Same multiple. I hope that is okay. Now moving on to the next questions. If you see, nothing here, nothing on this page, right? And we are going to start with question number 55. Let's start with question number 55. What does question number 55 say? So the series looks like this: Z Z Y Y Y X X X means if I make the series here, it looks like this: Z 2 times, Y Y Y 3 times, X X X X 4 times. Then after that we have U V W, W has 5 times, and so on. I hope this is clear. Means Z is repeating 2 times, Y is repeating 3 times, Z is repeating, oh sorry, X is repeating 4 times, W is repeating 5 times, and so on. Now they are asking you what is the middle term of this series. To find the middle term means is it H, I, J or M? Middle term means if we are able to find what is the total number of numbers, means total number of elements in this whole series, and if we divide that by 2, you will get the middle point, right? So how to know what is the how many total number are there in this series? So to find the total number of there in this series, you know that Z is 2 times. How many times Y is there? 3 times. X is 4 times. W is 5 times. And if you go on, B will be 26 times and A will be 27 times. I hope this is okay. Right? Now, how to calculate the sum of this series? You can use arithmetic progression. Arithmetic progression means first term is 2, difference is 1, and total number of elements in this whole series are 26. So the sum of the numbers is n by 2, 26 by 2. 2a means 2 into a plus n minus 1 means 25 into d, that is 1. That is a whole sum. So whatever the sum you are going to get, that is a total number of numbers in this series. I hope this is clear. So let's try and solve this. So 13 into 4 plus 25. 13 into 4 plus 35 means 13 into 29. I hope this is clear what we are trying to do here. We are just using the sum of arithmetic progression to find the number of terms in this whole series. So 13 into 29 is 377. I hope this is clear. Now 377 is the total number of elements in this series. If I divide 377 by 2, is it going to give me the middle term, around middle term of the series? So it is coming out to be 188.5, or means I would say 188th term. If I am able to find, then that I will get the answer. So to find that 188th term in this series means 188 means whenever what are you trying to find? You're trying to find n, means how many numbers are there when the sum of the series is 188. So let's take sum of the series is 188. First term is 2, difference is 1. So if you use a formula, S is equal to n by 2, 2a plus n minus 1 into d. So if you are able to find n here, then whatever n, suppose I get n as say 10. So if I get n as 10, then what I will do here is let's try and plug in some numbers. Rather than solving it for n, I will try to plug in some values of n and try if my intuition is right. Suppose I put 15, n as 15. So that is 4 plus 14, right? So it will be 15 by 2 into 18. So 15 into 9 is 135. So 135 means 15 is not the right number. What we are looking for is 188. So I need something bigger than 15. What I will use? Then I will go to 20. 20 by 2. 4 plus 19. Right? So this is 10 into 23. So this is 230. So even 20 is not the right answer. We need to look for something between 15 and 20. So if you take n as 30, n as 18, this could be the answer, right? Suppose n is 18. So 18 means you will go from like first is Z, second is Y, third is X, the next is W, and so on. And you will try to find 18th term in such series. And that is what you are looking for, the alphabet, whatever alphabet you are looking for. I hope this is clear. How to solve this question? Here we use the method of sum of arithmetic progression and you will found some answer. Moving on to question number 56th. See, whenever there are such question, please mind this, is P greater than Q? Is P greater than Q? Whenever there is a statement, conclusion type of questions are there, you do one thing, you try to break the question. Try to break the question means you try to prove the question statement wrong. If you are able to prove the question statement wrong, then you will be able to reach to an answer. How? We'll see. Is P greater than Q? Suppose if P is greater than Q, I don't know. Let's see. First statement given is P into Q is greater than 0. So if P into Q is greater than 0, if P into Q is greater than 0, what could it mean? It could mean that both P and Q are positive, or both P and Q are negative. Both are positive or both are negative. Then only then product could be greater than 0. First term says this much only. Either it could both are greater than 0 or both are less than 0. We don't know, we don't care, but for now, first term stay only this much. P square is greater than Q square. P square is greater than Q square. So P square is greater than U square. Let's take this first case. First case, when P is greater than 0, Q is greater than 0, and P square is greater than Q square. Then you could simply put P as 3, Q as 2, right? Then if you put P as 3 and Q as 2, both of the statements are true. P square is greater than 2 square will be also true. So in that case, you can say yes, P is greater than Q. But now take case number 2, when both are negative. When both are negative, if you take P as minus 3 and Q as minus 3, minus 2, then also P square will be greater than Q square. Why? Because minus 3 ka square will still be greater than minus 2 ka square. Both statements are true. But what is not true? What is not true is P is not greater than Q. So in one case, P is greater than Q, but in second case, P is not greater than Q. That is why we is confused. Both of these statements are not able to tell me if P is greater than Q. So that is why both of these statements are not sufficient to answer my question. So the answer is D. The question cannot be answered even if I use both of the statements together. I hope this is okay. How did we solve it? We try to break the question. We try to break the logic, and then we will try to find an answer. Next part is if P plus Q minus R greater than P minus Q plus R. First statement is P minus Q positive or P minus R negative? Let's see. First thing they have given is P plus Q minus R. P plus Q minus R is greater than P minus Q plus R. This is the question they have given to you, right? If this is a question they have given to you, you can simply what you can do, you can take everything on the right side to the left side. So P plus Q minus R, whenever you're taking right side to the left side, signs will change, minus P plus Q minus R and still greater than 0. So P will get cancelled out. So 2Q minus 2R is greater than 0, or you can say Q is greater than R. So this is the statement you are trying to prove. Is Q is greater than R? This is what they are asking for. They have just given you a long statement. Simply they have asked, is Q is greater than R? Let's see. First statement, P minus Q is positive. P minus Q is positive means P is greater than Q. First statement is done. Second statement, P minus R is negative. P minus R is negative, right? P minus Q is positive and P minus R is negative. So you can write it like P is less than R. I hope this is clear. Now, if you combine these two into one, you can say P is greater than Q, but P is less than R. P is greater than U, but P is less than R. Combining statement 1 and statement 2. So, if you just remove P from here, you can say R is greater than Q, right? So now, combining these two statements, you have find out that R is greater than 2. The question is Q greater than R? You can combine these two statements and you found that R is greater than Q. So you can answer this question. Can you answer this question? Yes. Is Q greater than R? No. Why? Because R is greater than Q. So Q is not greater than R. So using both of these statements, you were able to answer the question. If you are able to answer the question, you can say whenever I've used two statements together, when I used both of the statement together, I was able to answer the question, but not using any of the statement alone. You don't have to in this question, you don't have to prove कि Q is greater than R or R is greater than Q. They simply ask you, using the two statements, will you be able to give me an answer? I said, yes, I will be able to give you an answer. Right? Now, next part. This is a set theory question. In a party, 75% took tea. So there are many people. So 75 people are taking tea, 60 people are taking coffee, 15 people are taking both tea and coffee. No one taking milk, take tea. So there are three drinks right now. I will just remove this and let's solve this question. There are three drinks. There are three drinks, that is tea, milk and coffee. Right? And whenever see the set theory question, we form three circles like this. Right? One circle for tea, one circle for milk and one circle for coffee. But what just happened is, no one taking milk takes coffee. No, sorry, no one taking milk takes tea. Means suppose if it is coffee, this is milk, this is tea. There is no person common between milk and tea. There is no person who is taking milk as well as tea. So our set circles will look like this. Now coffee circle will remain same. This circle and this circle, milk and tea circle, will have nothing in common. Why? Because there is no one who's taking milk as well as tea. I hope this is clear. So this part we have just removed the uh, common part between milk and tea, and we have found the figure on the right. Right? I will just remove the figure on the left. I hope this is clear. The coffee, milk, tea. There are people who are taking coffee and milk. There are people who are taking coffee and tea, but there are no person who is taking milk as well as tea. Right? Now let's see what the question says. How many people are taking tea? There are total 75 people who are taking tea. 75. How many people there are taking coffee? 60. 60 people taking coffee. Yes. And 15 people taking both tea and coffee. Both tea and coffee. There are how many people? There are, whenever say tea and coffee, how many people are there? There are total here in this part. Let's say there are 15 people who are taking both tea and coffee. Right? Now, next part. Uh, the question is, how many people are total in who are attending the party? Statement 1 says 50 people took milk. Statement 1 says 15 people took milk. So 50 people take milk. So total 50 people are taking milk. This much big figure we are able to make using statement number 1. Now, statement number 2, number of people who have attended the party is 5 times number of people taking the milk alone. Means taking the milk alone means only this portion. Only this portion. Not the common area, only this portion. Only this portion. However many people are there in this portion, if you multiply that with 5 times, that is a total number of people who are attending the party. Suppose how many people are taking the milk? Let's say, so only Y people are taking the milk. Only milk, right? So if Y people are taking the milk, this part, this part, how many people are left? Out of 50 who are taking milk plus coffee, there are Y people who are taking milk only. How many people are there? Sorry. How many people are there which are common in the common area, right? In the common area, if I say, this means simply 50 people are there who are taking milk. Y people are there who are taking only milk. So if 50 minus Y will be the people who are taking milk and coffee both. So this part becomes 50 minus Y. I hope this is clear. Now 50 minus Y is this part. 50 minus Y is this part. This whole circle is 60. This is 75, right? Now if I simply ask you, what will be this part? 75 is the total T. 15 will be in this part, common part. So the remaining 60 will be in this circle, right? 60 will be in this circle. Now let's see. Now I will just simplify it for you. This is this and this. Now this whole circle, inside circle is coffee. No matter what, this is coffee. There are how many people taking coffee? No, the coffee is 60. How many people taking only milk? Only milk is, how many people are taking only milk? Y. How many people only taking tea is 60. This is what we have calculated, 60. So only tea is 60, only coffee, only milk is Y, and to coffee is 60. So if I just add up these three, means 60 plus Y plus 60 is going to be the total number of people who have attended the party, and that is 5 times Y using statement number 2. Right? Using statement number 2, I am able to guess that, right, that if I just sum up all the people in these three circles, means this 60 plus Y plus 60, it is going to give me the total number of people who have attended the party, and the statement number 2 says it is 5 times the people who are taking milk alone. So if I just solve it, 120 is equal to 4Y, Y is equal to 30. So Y is equal to 30 is the number of people who are taking milk alone, and 5Y is the people who are attended the party. 5 into Y means 5 into 30, that is 150 people who have attended the party. So if I go back, I was able to find how many people attended the party, 150, by using statement 1 and statement 2. That is why my answer is C. So using this statement, I was able to find it, right? Now, here there is a caveat here as well. Let's see. I hope it is clear. Now, if I just remove this part, there is another thing. Let's try and solve it using one of the statements and not both. Right? Let's see. So this is circle 1, circle 2, circle 3. This was 60. The other one was 75. T was 75. This common area is 15. And first statement says 50 people took milk. Let's ignore the statement for a second. Second statement says number of people who have attended the party is 5 times more who has taken milk alone. Milk alone is this portion. Milk alone is this portion. Let's assume this is Y. If this is Y, then how much this will be? This will be X. Let's say, because if I could have simply said X is equal to 50 minus Y, if I have taken the help of statement number 1. But I am not using statement number 1. Right now, I'm only using one statement. So, I'm using only second statement that says number of people who have taken the milk only is 5, that number is Y. That number is Y. And the people who have attended the party is 5Y. Two things are clear. Now, what I am going to do here, I am assuming this is X. So, this is X, this is 15. This part will be 15. This part will be 60. So this part will be how much? So this is 15. So this part, I'm just shading it again. This part, only this much part. This part is 60 minus 15, right? This part is 60 minus 15. So this, I will show you like this. So this part will become 60 minus 15, that is 45 people are there in this part. So if I just assume this part is X, this part is 45 minus X. Right? This is clear? 45 minus X and X. Now, 45 minus X, X, Y, and this is total 75. Right? Now, sorry for that. This circle will be 60. Now, what I am going to do here? I am going to do one thing is, I will just simply do, I have still not used statement number 1. That is, there are for total 50 people. I have still not used it. What I am going to do, again, I am going to use this bigger circle, this part and this part. Right? Still not using anything, just statement number 2 means this Y, this is total 60 people, and in this part is 60 people. How? 75 minus 50. So even if I use this 60 plus Y is equal to 5Y, I was able to find the total number of people, and still I have not used statement number 1. So first thing, we use statement number 1, we were able to get the answer, but in actuality there is no use of statement number 1. Only using statement number 2 I can give you the answer, and the answer is using only one statement. Answer can be given only one statement, and there is no use of second statement. I hope this is clear. This is just a set theory question, and they have just given you a question and two statements just to confuse you, right? Now this part is clear. Now let's move to the next part. This part is not from quant, not from quant. This part is not from quant. Yes, this is verbal reasoning part. This is logical reasoning part, not from quant. Again, not from quant. We are just skipping this and going to simply come to which part? Question number. This is again not needed, and question number 65. Yeah, this next question is question number 65. This is very interesting question. On little difficult side if you go by the permutation and combination standards, but still we are going to solve this. In an examination, there are total four papers. Means there are 4 subjects P, Q, R, S, and the maximum numbers of marks you can score in each of the subject is 100. Means 100 in P subject, 100 in Q subject, 100 in R, and 100 in S. So P can has 100 marks, Q has 100 marks, R 100 marks, and S has 100 marks. So a person score 99% in total exam. So means total marks was 400, and how much he has scored? He scored 396. Means 99% of marks he has scored. Right. So now you have to tell me in how many ways he can score 396 marks. So again I am writing it 400 marks total. He scored 396 in 4 subjects P, Q, R, and S. Right. Now how can he solve? How can he get 396 marks? First thing, very easy. First case is single one way is he scored 99 in all. It's a permutation and combination question. 99 in all. Easy. 396 done. There is second way where he scored 100 in 3 paper, and what else? Then he will be left with 96 marks. So he scored 96 marks in the last paper. So one way is he scored 99 marks in all 4. Second way is he scored 4 in 3 paper. He scored 100 marks, and 1 paper 96 marks. So how many ways? Out of 4 paper he scored 100 marks in 3 paper, plus in 1 paper out of 1 paper he scored 96. So if you solve this, you will get 4. Means there are 4 ways of doing this. Means 4 ways of doing means 96 in either P or Q or R or S. So there are 4 ways of doing this. Third thing, for what are the other way he can do it? He can do 100 in 2 paper. So he'll be left with how many marks? 196. To score 196, he could have 98 and 98. Right? So first way. So means he out of 4 paper, he scoring 200, and out of 2 paper, remaining 2 paper, he score 98 in 2 paper. So if you solve this, you will get 6 ways. Right? Easy. Now what is the other way we can think of? You can think of 100 again in 2 papers, but this time he need to score 196. To score 196, he can do it like 99 plus 97. This is also one of the way. So 4C2 dot. Then out of 4 paper, he need to score 2 paper. Then after that, he need to score out of 2 paper, he needs to score 99 in 1 paper. And after that, 1 paper is left, 1C1. So if you solve this, you will get 12 ways. Right? Done. And what is another way? Think of another way you can do this. And the another way and the last way is, the fifth way is, he score 100 in first paper. Here what we have done? We have done 300. We have done 300s. Here we have done 200, 200, and the last way is we have only 1 paper with 100 marks, and the remaining paper will look like 99 plus 99 plus 98. There is no other way of scoring 296 marks rather than 99 plus 99 plus 98. Right? So how can you do this? Out of 4 paper, he is scoring 100 in 1 paper. Then after that, he chose remaining 2 paper. He after remaining 3 paper, he scored 99 in 2 paper. and 1C1 for 98, and he has 12 ways. So 12 plus 6 plus 4 plus 1 is the answer, right? I hope this is clear. How did we find it? We first did it. We need to score 396. How can we do 396? One way is 99 all for 99. Second way is there are 300s. Then we have 200s. Then the fourth case we have 200s again. And fifth case there was only 100. And if you do calculate all the ways, you will get the answer. I hope it is clear. 24 plus 6, 30 plus 4, 34 plus 1, 35. So 35 is the answer in this question. This is done. Now moving on to the question number 66. 66. This question was pretty interesting. Again, a permutation and combination. You just have to be very smart. Just imagine in this, let's see the question first. There are 4 horizontal strips. Suppose this is a flag of some country and there are 4 strips, right? And you are given option of only 3 colors: red, green, yellow. No other color is allowed. What is the number of different ways that you can fill in these colors, so that 2 adjacent strips, means you cannot have red. 2 strips will, like, 2 strips which are side by side, they cannot have the same color. If they have the same color, then they will be merged and they will not look what they want, right? So the only thing the condition is, you cannot have the same color in 2 strips side by side. So let's start with strip number 1. If strip number 1, how many options we have? You can either have red or green or yellow. Choose any color. Start with strip number 1. You can choose any color you want and fill the strip number 1. So how many ways you can fill the strip number 1? That is 3 ways. Strip number 1 is done. Now, suppose you have picked one color. So let's say you have to choose red color for strip number 1. What are the options for strip number 2? The only option you are left with is green or yellow. If you have taken red as the first color, the only option is you have two ways of filling the second strip. Even suppose first strip is filled with green color, how many ways you can fill in the second strip? That is red and yellow. So out of these 3 colors, one color is gone. You have two options left, right? Now let's go to option number 3. First is, suppose you have taken red here. In second strip, you have used green, right? You have used green. What you can fill in the third strip? You can use yellow, which is left, or you can use red here as well again. Why red again? They cannot be side by side, but you can use it alternatively. So in third strip, you have 2 options, because you have already filled green here, green. You cannot use green in the third strip, but you can use red or yellow. So in third strip, you have red or yellow. Suppose I use yellow in third strip. So in fourth strip, I have option of red or which color? Green again. If this is yellow, I can use green or red on the side strip to it. So 2 colors in the last strip as well. So 3 into 2 into 2. So you will get the answer as 24. Right? Easy question for permutation and combination. So you just now have seen 2 easy question, easy to moderate question, and easy to difficult question side by side. Question number 65 and question number 66. So let's do the question number 67. A rectangular floor is like this: 4 meter and 2.2 meter. So a floor is like 400 centimeter and 220 centimeter. Right? This is a floor size. I hope you have seen very large tiles available in the market, right? So whenever you go to and buy tiles for your floor, what do? You take the length of your floor, and then you ask uh, what ask the shopkeeper about the size of the tile, right? And if suppose this is 400 and 220 centimeters. Suppose the only option they have is 200 centimeter by 220 centimeter, means this big, half of the size of the room. So you can only fill 2 tiles, right? So it all depends on the size of the tile you are filling, right? So the only available option tile is 140 into 60. And if you read again the next part, a tile can be placed in any orientation as long as it is parallel to the edge, right? what is the maximum number of tile you can accommodate in the room? First thing, you have to fill in as many tiles as possible, and the size of the tile is 140 into 60 centimeter. First thing I'm going to do is 140 60 centimeter. I can place it any way I want. I would like to place it like this: 140 into 60 means 140 here and 60 here, right? If I have used 140 here and 60 here, I hope I'm saying it right, 140 here and 60 here. So how much space I will be left with at the bottom of it? 140 is gone, so I will be having 80 centimeter here. So one tile will go like this, and another tile will be, can I place another tile in this vertical position? No, the only option I will having is to place a tile like this, right? Place a tile like this, 60 into 140. So 60 into 140, I have to placing a tile horizontally and vertically, right? Now another thing is, I will place second tile like this, right? Third tile like this, fourth like tile this, fifth tile like this, seventh, this is, I will be placing 6 tiles simultaneously. 6 tiles means 6 into 60, so that is 360 centimeter. So 360 centimeter tiles I have placed side by side, and I will be not having any more position, nothing. So out of 400, I will be left with only 40 centimeter, and there is no tile with 40 centimeter width. So I can only place 6 tiles vertically. 6 tiles vertically is I have the only place vertically. And now let's talk about horizontally. One tile was like this. So this tile is 140 is done, plus 140 another tile here. So I will be having no other position, and this part will be empty, but still I can only place 2 tiles horizontally. 6 tiles vertically, 2 tiles horizontally. So I can, maximum number of tiles that I can place is 8 tiles. Right? Easy question. You just need to picturize the scenario and you will be able to find the question answer. Right? Next part. Again a permutation combination question. Interesting one. P, Q, R, S, T are doing, each of them are doing one task. Means there is task number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are 5 people to do the task. Right? Now, there are conditions. There are 5 tasks. Task number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Task number 1 cannot be done by P or Q. So P and Q cannot do task number 1. Give no option. They cannot do at all. So task number of 1 cannot be done by PQ. It can only be done by RST. So T1 can be done by RST. Done. Over. In task number 2 can be done by R or S only. So only R or S can do task number 2. Right? There is no restriction on task number 3, 4, 5. So no worries about them. Let's start with task number 2. Suppose R or S is doing the task. Suppose I put R here. So how many people are there who can do task number 2? There is only 2 people are there who can do task number 2. If R is doing the task number 2, he will be removed from this list. So task number 1 can be done by how many people? It can either be done by S or T, because P and Q cannot do task number 1. So for the first task also I will have 2 options. Again, if task number 2 can be done by R or S, suppose I picked S, who is doing the task number 2. So if I am picking S doing the task number 2, task number 1, earlier I have 3 options, R, S and T. Now S is doing task number 2. I have no option. That option is gone. So I will be left with 2 options, R or T. So 2 into 2 means these are the people who can do task number 1 and task number 2. So once task 1 and task 2 are done, then how many people are left? There will be 3 people left. So 3 people are left who can do task number 3. There is no restriction on type of people who can do task number 3. Then 3 people are here. For task number 4, we have 2 options, and task number 5 will have 1 option. So 2 into 2 into 3 into 2 into 1 is the number of people or the number of ways in which these 5 tasks could be done. I hope this is clear. Now moving on to the next question. Question number 69. We are just about to complete this paper. I know it took some while, but it I'm taking it easily, slowly, to just make sure that everyone is able to understand, even if they have not seen the video. Right? If you have seen the video, obviously that's a bonus. But if you have not seen the theory videos, you still should be able to understand these questions. Right? Next question, there are these options available to you: 2 gram coin, 5 gram coin, 10 gram coin, and 25 gram and 50 gram coin. Right? Now, first thing, to buy a seven, now you're going to the market. You went to the market and you say, I need 78 grams of coin. How can you buy 78 grams of coin? Try on your own if you want. To make 75 grams of coin, I will try and be a little smart. I will say, give me 25, 25, and 25. So 75 done. But for the next 3 grams, I have no option. I have no option of 1 gram. So this cannot happen. Means 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. That cannot happen because I don't have 1 gram coin. To make 78 gram coin, try as many cases as you want. The only option you will be left with in this case is buy 150 gram coin, then 10 gram coin, then 10 gram coin. So 50 is done, 70 is done, 50 plus 10 plus 10, 70 is done. For the remaining 8 gram, you have no option but to buy 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. You cannot do 5 gram, then 2 gram and 1 gram. You don't have 1 gram coin. So the only option you have is 2 gram, 2 gram, 2 gram and 2 gram. So this is the only way in which you can buy 78 gram of coins. So the least number of coins that you need at least is 78 grams of coin to buy. Now this is to buy, means you are going to the market and buying 78 gram. Now another option is to weigh. You need nothing, just to weigh. You want to calculate the weight of 78 grams. Means not, suppose someone comes to your shop, right? And they say, I need 78 grams of onions. 78 grams of onion I need. Now, 78 grams, right? So this is simply using these coins, using these weights. I hope you have seen such a scenario where you have weighing scale, right? You have weighing scale, right? This let's make a this is something like a weighing scale. You have one side here, one side here. Suppose you put 10 grams here, 10 grams here. You will be able to say that 10 grams is both will be on the equivalent, right? Weight. Now, if I put 10 grams here and 5 grams here, so one will go down and one will go up. So I can say 10 minus 5 grams. So this is, if I am putting 10 grams on the one side, 5 grams on the other side, I will be able to say that whatever you put in next to balance the weight, that is going to be 5 gram weight is going to balance it. And this way you can make a weighing scale who can balance 5 grams. Right? Another example, suppose I put 10 grams here and 2 grams on the other side. 10 grams on one side and 2 grams on the other side. So 10 grams weight side will go down and 2 grams will be go up. Now, if you want to weigh 8 grams of onion, suppose on one side you are putting 10 grams of coins, on the other side you are putting 2 grams of coin. One side will go down, other side will go up. Now, if you want to weigh 8 grams of onion, where will you put it? You will put it on the right side. And what will that do? That is simply going to do is, if you put in 8 grams of weight onions on the right side, the weight will be balanced, right? So weight will be balanced, and that is how you can weight 78 grams or 8 grams using these coins. So here is this scenario as well. They say to weigh 78 grams, these coins you can use less than 7 coins. How? Suppose I use 50 plus 20 is 70 plus 50 plus 20 plus 10. 50 plus 20, do I have 20? No, I don't have 20. I only have 25. 50 plus 25 plus 10. So, how much weight I have right now? I have 85 grams of weight, right? Suppose I put in on the other side of the weighing scale, how much I need to put? I can put in like 5 grams. Do I have 5 gram coin? Yes. and I put in 2 gram. So whatever, how much weight I have on the right side, 7 gram. 85 grams on one side, 7 grams on the other side. So one side will go down, 7 gram will go up. Now, if you put, how much weight do you put in this side to make it balance? So now I take 78 grams of onion, 78 grams of onion and 7 grams on this side. So it will be 85 grams. So 85 plus 85 balance out on the both side. So using less than 7 coins, how many coins did we use? We use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 coins I used and I was able to weigh 78 grams. Right? So to weigh 78 grams, you need less than 7 coins. Yes, I only needed 5 coins, and this is how the statement 1 and statement 2 both are right. Right? I hope this is clear. In first case, you just went to the market and you bought 78 grams of coins. In second case, you did not go to the market to buy 78 grams of coin. You just went to market and to buy 78 grams of onion, and you want to weigh those onions. Right? Simple. Just understand the difference in two scenarios. Next question. These statement says A plus B is A plus B means A is neither smaller nor equal to B. So A is neither smaller nor greater nor equal. So A is greater than B. First statement is done. Second statement, A minus B means A is not greater than B. Means A is less than equal to B. Right? Equal to means why? It's not greater than B, but it could be less than or equal to B. A into B means A is not smaller. Then means A is greater than or equal to B. A divided by B means A is neither greater nor equal. So the third scenario says, oh sorry, this is a fourth scenario. Huh? A is neither greater nor equal. Neither greater or equal. Neither greater nor equal. So it will be like, it will be less than. A plus minus B is A is neither small nor greater. So A is equal to B. So you have first scenario as A is neither smaller nor equal to. So it is greater. A is not greater than B means it is less than or equal to. A is not smaller. This means A is greater than equal to. A is neither greater nor equal means it is less than. And A is neither small or nor greater means A is equal to B. I hope this is clear. Now you have two statements. Two statement means this is statement given to you P into Q. What does P into Q means? We have just read P into Q means case number 3. P into Q means P is greater than Q. Second case. Second, this is done P minus T. P minus T, C case number 2. When say P minus T, that is P is less than Q. I'm just using those symbols and T divided by R. This means T is less than R. And the fourth is R plus minus S means R is equal to S. I hope this is clear. What I've done, I have just nothing. I've just used those symbol and just changed them into P or Q. Now, they are trying to ask you, is Q plus minus equal to T means Q is equal to T, or S plus Q means S is greater than Q. Which is correct? Statement 1 or statement 2? So, is Q equal to T? If you see Q equal to T, first thing I can do is R is equal to S. So, if T is less than R, I could also write T is less than S. Why? Because R and S are equal. First thing is done. Second thing, did I write it right? It's not Q. It should be T. Yes, it should be T, not Q. So here it will be T. First thing is done. T is less than R, so T is less than S. And now P is less than T means now I am using this state. P is less than S. Right? And where can I put Q? Q is, I'm just combining all these scenario 1, 2, 3 and 4, and what the relation I formed is Q is less than P and P is less than T and T is less than S. This is a scenario. So from this, can you say Q is equal to T? No. Why? Because Q is less than T. So this is not true. S is greater than Q. So S is greater than Q. We can see S is surely greater than Q. So we can say that conclusion number 1 is not possible. Is not possible. Conclusion number 1 is not possible, but conclusion number 2 is possible. I hope you're able to understand. Conclusion number 2 is right. Conclusion number 1 is wrong. This is done. This is just you have to understand what the symbol means and convert them into two P and Q form. Then find the relation between all these P, Q, R, S, and then you will find the answer. Here, if you don't have any question, the next question we are going to do is question number 74. I will leave this question for you because we have done such question already in the remainder theorem. What is the remainder when 2 raised to power 192 divided by 6? Very easy question. 2 raised to power 92. Again, simply, here we are trying to find a pattern. 2 raised to power 2, 4. Then 4 divided by 6, remainder is 4. Then 4 into 2 is 8. 8 remainder with 2 is 2. Then I hope you understand 2, then 4, then 4 to the 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32, and so on. So remainder 2 with 6 is 2, 4 is 4, 8 is 2, 16 is 4, 32 is 2, then 4. Means the remainder formula is 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. So the pattern it is following is 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, right? So the remainder with 2 raised to power 192 means it is even side. So it will be, the remainder will be 4. If it has been 191, then 2 would have been answer. Now it is 192. So the answer is 4. I hope this is clear. This question is clear. Next question. Question number 75. In question number 75, I did not find it. I see, there is nothing. You just, in such type of question, there is no straight way. But these are the pattern finding question. The only thing you can do is just plug in the options. First option means you put in D, A, C, B. Then see if it is making any sense. C, D, A, B. Then see if it is making any sense. D, C, C, A. Try, then see it is making any sense, and so on. And then if after putting in all these, whatever makes sense, that is the answer. If it is taking a lot of time in the exam, please feel free to leave this question, right? Don't waste a lot of time in plugging in and trying to find. I know this question is easy, but this could be quite tempting to waste your time. So in this question, answer is D. You can try to solve this question on your own, right? Now this part is in Hindi. Let's do question number 76. Question number 76 is AB and CD are two digits number. ठीक, right? Multiplying AB with CD. Multiplying AB with CD gives me 3-digit number as DEF. And if I add DEF to GHI, I will get 975 as the answer. Till now, it's very pretty simple what they have said. And they have said E is 0, means E is 0, E is 0, and F is 8. F is 8. So this is 8. Right? Now, GHI. If F is, let's start with F is 8. If F is 8, I is something. And we know we want to get 5 in the end. What should I put in to get 5 in the end? I cannot make it -3. 8 minus 3 is 5. No. The only way is 8 plus 7, 15. 1 will go in the carry. Right? 8 plus 7, 15. 1 will go as a power, carry power. Right? So 1 is going here. E is 0. So H is how much? If 1 is power, E is 0, H is something, and we are looking for something 7 in the end. So H should be what? Is it 7? Yes. So to make it 7, H plus 0 plus 1. So what should be H? H should be 6. So what do I have? I as 7, H is equal to 6. Right? Now D plus G is 9. Right? D plus G is 9. To make D plus G as 9, is it given anything to me? D plus G? No. Right? Let's see. To make D plus G as 9, I need to look back, and the options I have to look at. What could be the options using the digits I have, right? First thing, let's look at B and D. I know something as B and D are getting multiply and giving me 8. B and D is getting multiply and I am getting 8 here, right? So B and D are getting multiply and getting 8 here, and D plus G are some digits. We are getting a number as 9, right? This is clear. Now, what could be D? That is, I try and put in some numbers and try to see what could fit in here. What could fit in here? And if I put in D as, if I try, let's say, if I try, what is the option of making 8? Means multiplying two numbers and getting 8. Either I get a 2 4s are 8, or I get a 8 into 1. Anything else? No. Is 8 available? No, because F has already taken 8. So 8 into 1 cannot be the case. 4 into 2 is the answer. 4 into 2 are the options which I can have for B and D. Why not 8? Because F has already taken away 8. So the only option I have is 2 into 4. So what is B is 2 or D is 2? That we have checked. So if I put D as 2, suppose D is 2, then G should be 7 to make it 9. But again 7 is not possible because I has already taken away 7. So D cannot be equal to 2. D can only be equal to 4. So if I put D as 4, G will be what? 5. If I put G as 4, G will be able to 5. So D is 4, G is 5. I hope you are able to find. So I'm just simply looking at the cases, how to find the value of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So E and F were already given. I was able to find as 7. H, simply H is 6. D, why 4? Why not 2? Because if I put D as 2, G would have been 7. And 7 is not possible. Why? Because I have already taken out 7. So 7 is not possible. So the only thing that is possible is 4. So G is 5. Now I have D as what? 4. B is has 2. So again B is gone 2. C is gone. Oh, D is 4. So now you have 2, 4. So some numbers look like this. A, A2, C4, and answer, final answer you are getting is D, D is 4. D is 408. So what should be A and C? If you just put in the remaining digit and check for remaining digit, you will find A is what? You will find A as 1 and C as 3. So the value of A plus B plus C, where A is 1, B is what? B is 2 and C is 3. You will get answer as 6. So 6 is the answer. I know it was little confusing, but you try to solve this question on your own with your own hands in the copy, and you should be able to understand what we are trying here. And again, see, they are not going to ask you same question in the exam. Same means just copy of this. They are going to ask you a similar question. Similar question means in future they can give you, just modify it a little. Say they give you value of D rather than F. They give you a value of E rather than H. So they are just going to make it similar question. So that is why don't stick to the answers. Just try to understand what the question is trying to say, right? Now that all the question in the remaining, these are LR questions. I am not picking those. All are LR questions 78, 79 and 80. Again, I know in this, for this paper, for this year, I was not able to solve DILR a lot. But if we are able to continue with this course for the next year, we are going to have quant as well as LR as well as DI for the next year CSAT. But for now, we have invested a lot of energy on the quant section, and before exam, I don't think we'll be having any more videos. So in the remaining, for remaining how many days are left, just focus on doing a lot of PYQs for CSAT. Do a refresher if you want using the revision codes, and look at your notes, what you have taken, and this is going to be sufficient for the quant part. And again, I'm right saying it like this: if there will be like 27 to 30 questions from quant section, even if you are able to solve 24, oh sorry, 20, anything between 18 to 22 out of those 20 30 questions, you're already very close to that mark of 27 questions. 27 questions, right questions is the golden mark you are looking for. So that is why in quant section, if they are asking you 30 questions or 27 questions, try to reach or solve, even if you're able to solve 18 questions. I'm not asking you much. Okay. So as I was saying, 40 minutes for quant or math section, next 40 minutes for verbal section. Once these two are done, then you will be left with 30 minutes, last 30-40 minutes, the best time. Now you know which section is easy. Is verbal easy or maths easy? So whatever is easy, either section maths or section English, last 30 minutes, put all your energy in that section. I am not saying just focus on the quant section. There could be time when quant will be difficult. There will be time when verbal will be difficult. Don't stick to one section. Don't stick to just in the last 30 minutes. Now you know what the paper is. Is the verbal easy or quant easy? Now last 30 minutes, put your all energy in that. And this is how you're going to breeze that 27 correct questions or 33% mark in the CSAT. So best of luck for this year exam. I know people, I can assure you, people who have done quant from the start, they will be at a easy spot right now. They will be they will be at an easy spot. And even for people who have not joined our course, they are doing it on their own. Just calm now. It's okay. Last 15 minutes again, I'm not, just focus on two things. Make your formula sheet, which you are going to use for the revision, and do PYQs. And PYQs from where? Previous year papers, not any mock test now. Mock tests are gone. Use previous year question paper, and those are going to be help you a lot rather than focusing on mock tests. So best of luck for this year exam. Next year again we are going to come back, but this time along with quant we are going to do data interpretation and verbal section. Oh sorry, not verbal, but logical reasoning section as well in the next year paper. So best of luck for this year. If you have any doubts, feel free to post them in the comments. We are always available. Not today, till the exam day. We are available all the time in the comment section. You can post your doubts in the comment section. So best of luck. I know you will be able to clear CSAT easily. Best of luck and Godspeed.